Angry all the time? Not sure why? Here's some answers from our friends at the ACA and the APA. So, first things first, anger is completely normal. It would be weird if you never got angry, if you just floated around like some sort of zombie all the time. That would be less human than it is to lose your cool once in a while. As I research more about the subject, I see how many teens and families struggle with anger, and I've come across some great resources for teens and parents. So, here we go. This is part 2 of the 3-part story about the nature of anger and what you can do about it. It is possible to change the way you think and to change the way you act. Cognitive restructuring is the word of the day. Cognitive restructuring. It's all about learning how to appropriately analyze adverse situations. It's noticing that you're about to lose it and rerouting your thought process before it's too late. It means changing the way you think, because when we get angry, we don't see straight. We see the world just wrong. Things that shouldn't be all that important suddenly become life or death. When we get angry, it's usually because of something called cognitive distortion. That's a really big word for just not seeing clearly. For example, when we get mad, sometimes we see a little thing as way, way more important than it is. When you're angry, your thinking can get very exaggerated and over dramatic. Look how angry I am. Try replacing these thoughts with more rational ones. For instance, instead of telling yourself, oh, it's awful and terrible and everything is ruined, tell yourself, it's frustrating, it's understandable that I'm upset about it, but it's not the end of the world, and getting angry is not going to fix anything anyhow. So be careful to use words like never or always when talking about yourself or someone else. Remind yourself that getting angry is not going to fix anything, that it won't make you feel better. In fact, it might actually make you feel a little bit worse. So there's good news, luckily, and that is that we can use logic to defeat anger. So use cold, hard logic on yourself. So angry people tend to demand, and I use the word demand very loosely, things like fairness and appreciation and justice and my way. It has to be this. Everyone wants these things. Everyone wants our own way. Everyone wants justice and everyone wants fairness. And we all hurt and are disappointed when we don't get them. When we're at our worst, when we want our needs to be met but they're not, that disappointment, that becomes anger. And we need to do 2 things. One, we need to become aware that demanding nature, that's not okay. And 2, we need to translate those expectations into desires. I expect this, I need this. No, I want this. This is something I want, not something I need. And if we can do that in our brain, then all of a sudden we have more peace in our life and we have more joy. Some things you can't change and some you can, so knowing the difference is super important. Lots of angry people use anger as a way just not to feel hurt. But that doesn't mean the hurt doesn't go away. It just buries it deep down. So I can feel angry and not feel hurt. It's a safety mechanism. Something you can do when you feel angry is to slow it down and think through your responses. Don't just say the first thing that comes into your head, but slow it way down and think carefully about what you want to say. If you're upset with someone, listen to yourself. Again, slow down. What's the underlying anger here? What's the thing beneath the thing? For instance, if it's road rage, why are you in a hurry? Are you angry at mom? What are the unsaid expectations that aren't lining up with your reality? Frustrated with a sibling? What's the bigger issue here of injustice that's really cutting you to the core? So, cognitive restructuring, changing how you think to change how you act, and using cold, hard logic on yourself to achieve more control are just 2 ways that you can wrap your head around anger and be in control of what controls you. Thanks for listening. You can hear part 1 of the anger series and more at reallifecounselor.com. And if you want to read more about what we're talking about, you can look up apa.org because they're awesome. Seriously, you should go do it right now because these guys are smart. Bye.